Check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dave Crouch, and this is Policy Talks that is brought to you by the Williamson Inc., our county chamber every month about this time. And we are really got a great crowd this morning in the audience. Most of them bright-eyed. One or two of them look a little sleepy, but ready for a great discussion here. Our panelists, and let me just probably need to follow my outline, but thank you so much, Columbia State, for making this venue available for this. It's a beautiful setting, and this campus has put Columbia State on the map in Williamson County, well above where it used to be. So want everybody to encourage their friends to come by and enjoy it. Got a TV audience watching us on Comcast Channel 3 and on YouTube. So welcoming them, and then through our local radio affiliate, WAKM AM 950, welcoming the audience there. But the important people are sitting up front here. Our legislative delegation from Williamson County, and I'm going to get it right because I wrote it down this morning, Jack. District 23, representing District 23, our Senate Majority Leader, Jack Johnson. Our representing, and I'm going this in order of district number, not seniority like I always mess up, but Representative Gino Bulzo from District 61 in the northern part of Williamson County. District 63, Representative Jake McCalman out on the east side of the county, and the west side of the county in general, representing District 65, Representative Lee Reeves. Our representative from District 92 is not able to be here, and apparently also Senator Joey Hensley. So it's kind of hard to work six guys into the conversation anyway, so this will work out fine. But the big, I think, political news of the week is President Trump's visit to Memphis. And I suspect some of you were there. Jack, did you make it down there?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I did not make it down. I was invited to attend, but just could not make that work with our legislative session. But I'm glad you started with that. We need to talk about what's going on down there because it is truly remarkable. The crime problem in Memphis has been very severe. Memphis is one of the most dangerous cities in America. In 2025, I won't get the number exactly right, but there are, I think, about 400 homicides in the city of Memphis. That's more than one a day. There were more homicides in Memphis last year than in the entire city of New York City. And New York City has 8 times the population. So a lot of different things that have been going on, moving pieces and parts to try to solve that problem. But the most significant thing was when Governor Bill Lee asked, and President Donald Trump, with the support of Senator Marsha Blackburn, decided to send in the National Guard. We created the Memphis Safe Task Force, which included state troopers, TBI, FBI, and then obviously the National Guard went down there too. Crime has been slashed significantly. There have been, I think, close to 8,000 arrests. About 1,200 illegal firearms have been taken off the streets. But the most compelling statistic, I think, is 150 missing children have been found and returned to their families down there. And if you talk to people who are in Memphis, live in Memphis, or spend time in Memphis, they will tell you that the difference is palpable. That people are going downtown, they're going to basketball games, they're going to Beale Street, they feel safer in their neighborhoods, and that's really, really an important thing. We could spend a lot of time talking about it. You may say, well, why is that important for Williams County or anywhere else in the state? Well, number one, they're fellow Tennesseans, but also Memphis is an amazing city. If you've spent time down there, there are so many wonderful things about Memphis that we're not adequately leveraging from a tourism standpoint, from an economic development standpoint. There's great people, great culture, great history, great food, great music. There's just so much to enjoy down there. There's Graceland, and my good friend Senator Brent Taylor, who represents Memphis is completing his first term as a state senator, and he has really made his #1 issue to make Memphis matter. And he's done a really good job, I think, drawing attention to it. And he has a great line, and it is that Tennessee cannot reach its full potential if Memphis doesn't reach its full potential. I mean, you think about not too long ago, Memphis had more population and a stronger economy than Nashville did. It was more of a contributor to our economic, to our sales tax base, and because of the crime problem down there, and there are a lot of reasons why that crime problem has flourished. Namely, there's a DA down there who won't prosecute anyone, and I'm happy to get further into that. We have several pieces of legislation this year to further try to address that. We talk about the school system down there, which is an abysmal failure. There's a forensic audit that's taking place. We'll get the results of that audit next week. But I will tell you this, that the auditor, who is an independent third party hired by our comptroller out of Washington, D.C., who has spent a 40-year career doing public entity audits, and they're completing the audit of the Memphis school system, the Memphis Shelby County school system, and this auditor said in public, in front of the media, has never seen a public entity that is as mismanaged as the Memphis school system. So it's a good news story because we're doing a lot about it, and it was great to have the president there and a lot of other people, and we're going to get Memphis back on track.
Appreciate that update. I was going to ask that, and I'm glad you brought it up. The political event of the week before, of last week, was held by the Tennessee Farm Bureau, I think, and they're out on Capitol Hill, what they call Ag Day, and apparently they had a big log out there and a big crosscut saw. Were any of y'all able to saw the log in half?
I was not there, Dave, but I do understand that unfortunately our House delegation did not perform, sadly, as well as the Senate did.
That's terrible. That is terrible.
I could not agree more, sir.
They said that was practice for cutting red tape. Now,
I think you need scissors and not a saw to do that.
I'm disappointed that you all didn't man the saw. But did anybody? If you weren't there, you didn't get to kiss the pig. So, no. Oh boy.
Constantly kissing pigs. Yeah.
Get to do that anyway.
The closest I get is eating bacon, Dave.
Love it. And these are almost in no certain order today. I've usually try to group them, healthcare, so forth. But we're going to move randomly through because there's so many things we need to cover. But Williamson Medical is rumored to be on the block, and I think Jack, you might have sponsored some legislation that would loosen the strings on what can be done with the proceeds, if that were to happen. Can you tell us more about that and any of the rest of you that were involved in that?
Yeah, so that was an example where the Williamson County Commission passed a resolution in excess of a 2/3 majority. I think it received 17 votes from whatever it was, well in excess of a 2/3 majority, and asked us to change that. Several years ago, we passed a law at the request of local governments who have private act public benefit hospitals, that if those hospitals were ever sold, that the proceeds, net proceeds, after bonds are paid off, debts are paid, there was some question about use of proceeds, what can be done with that. And several years ago, we passed legislation, Charles Sargent and I did, the late Representative Charles Sargent and I passed legislation to say that if there are proceeds, those proceeds will go into a trust fund that's dedicated to providing health care in the community. So if you sell your private act public benefit hospital and you make money on it, then those proceeds must all go into this trust fund. The county commission asked us to modify that law and give them greater flexibility in the event that you sell a private act hospital and you do walk away with a significant amount of money, that the county commission would have some latitude and discretion to put money into a trust fund for the benefit of health care for the community. But if it's enough money, you might want to do something else with that. So we are advancing a bill that would do that. I've passed it, I'm not sure where it is right now. I have too many bills, but I don't think I've passed it on the floor yet, but don't expect any problem. It's completely permissive to local governments. It doesn't say you have to do one thing or the other, but it would say if you can, again, get a 2/3 majority of your legislative body, in this case, the Williamson County Commission, and you have X number of dollars, you have more latitude in terms of how you can use that money.
It'll pass on the floor in the House on Thursday morning.
Lee Reeves, I think you were the sponsor in the House. Is that right?
I had it in the House.
Pardon me, Jake. Okay, great. And so that is going to go through. Now, the rumor on the street is that HCA, Vanderbilt, and Mayo Clinic are all interested in the hospital.
We are not involved in those conversations whatsoever and do not want to comment on that.
Second.
Just trying to get a little more information there, but failed on that score. Let's talk about the pharmacy bill. Sticking with healthcare a minute, there's a bill that I kind of relate to that you're proposing to make it illegal for a pharmacy benefit manager company to own pharmacies in the state. Reminds me of the Glass-Steagall Act back in 1934 that wouldn't let banks own brokerage firms so they can loan money to people to bet on the stock market because that became a circular thing. Who would like to speak to that and tell us what that looks like and whether that's going to pass?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, I have. So this is what we're referring to as the PBM bill, Pharmacy Benefit Manager Bill. And the legislation you're talking about, you did a good job, David, of explaining it. It would outlaw vertical integration. Vertical integration is used frequently in business, but in this case, we're talking about healthcare delivery. And it would prohibit a pharmacy benefit manager from owning a pharmacy. Oftentimes in healthcare, you have an insurance company that utilizes a pharmacy benefit manager and is able to, through economies of scale, rebates, and other things, be able to bring down the cost of drugs. So far, no problem. But if you have an insurance company that owns a pharmacy benefit manager who owns pharmacies, and the pharmacy benefit manager is saying in order to get this price, you have to go to a specific pharmacy, the assertion is that's anti-competitive. And this legislation is supported by the Pharmacy Association, representing a lot of independent pharmacies, and understandably, they don't like the fact that if there's this vertical integration and people in a community are being coerced or led to go to a particular pharmacy, and not maybe their independent neighborhood pharmacy down the street. That's the policy aspect of it. It was in our Senate Finance Committee. It passed out of our Health Committee overwhelmingly, I think 8-1, considering the policy merits of it. We had it in Finance Committee, and I voted against it, and here's why. Our state health plan and TennCare, which is our Medicaid waiver program, and by the way, those two entities combined, our state health plan, which hundreds of thousands of Tennesseans are on, not just state employees, but there's local governments that participate in that health plan. It's the largest health plan in the state. Between TennCare and the state health plan, it's over 25% of the covered individuals in the state of Tennessee, so it's a lot. Well, the Commissioner of Finance and Administration, Commissioner Jim Bryson, submitted a fiscal impact to our fiscal review team saying that it would cost the state health plan $29 million. TennCare submitted a fiscal impact statement to our fiscal review team saying it would cost TennCare, our Medicaid program, $24 million. So, but the fiscal review, who decides what fiscal notes we have to contemplate in the budget, said it would not have any impact to the state. And that's just too big of a gap for me. It passed out of the Senate Finance Committee. I was one of 2 no votes, but I just felt like we should address that. If we're going to handle this from a policy standpoint and say that this is, in fact, anti-competitive activity, that's fine. But if it's going to cost the state, the reason we're the best fiscally managed state in America is because we don't pass legislation without paying for it, and we are doing that with this bill, and that led me to vote no. Good friends of mine, respected members, disagreed with that on the Finance Committee. That's why we have votes, and that's why we do it. So I expect the legislation to pass, and so the vertical integration. Now, what you're seeing on TV are some ads that are being paid for by larger chain-type pharmacies. And CVS has been very, very vocal in saying that if this legislation passes, they are going to close 134 pharmacies in the state of Tennessee because it will be, they have a PBM, they have a pharmacy benefit manager, and they own 134 pharmacies. And we're going to prohibit their ability to do that. So they have to decide. They have to divest either their pharmacies or they have to divest their pharmacy benefit manager.
Push back sort of here a little bit, because one of the most compelling presentations I've ever heard was in the mid-90s by a fellow by the name of Richard Scrushy, who spent a good part of his life since then in prison. But he was at the time the CEO of Health South Rehabilitation in Birmingham, and talking about a program they were using with the city of Tampa, where the city of Tampa paid the monthly health care premiums directly to Health South, and Health South took care of their health care. No insurance company in the middle. None of that friction, none of that back and forth between the insurance company and the patient or the hospitals. And I think Kaiser Permanente in California is set up that way. Apparently a pretty good healthcare system. And that's the way the healthcare industry has been going over the last 30 years, I guess. Scrushy got fired because he tried to, well, he was using some of the company money for other things. And then Richard Scott tried to do it with HCA, and I think that's why he got fired. But he landed on his feet as the governor and then senator of Florida. But the question is there another way to accomplish what you want to accomplish by just requiring that they disclose the prices they charge for the prescriptions and not allow them to charge different prices for the private pharmacies?
We actually passed that legislation in 2021 to require that there not be any anti-competitive activity in these types of arrangements. Proponents of this legislation would tell you that despite passing that legislation, like other states have, that the PBMs have found ways and loopholes to get around that, and they're still doing it in various forms or fashions. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't. I'm trying to explain the bill to you and tell you why I voted against it from a fiscal impact position. But the legislation is going to pass. The House Speaker, a good friend of all of ours, is a fierce proponent.
Okay.
The Senate Speaker is a fierce proponent of this legislation, and it passed out of our Senate Finance Committee 9-2. And I was one of 2 no votes. Again, not on the policy aspect, but because I just felt from a principle standpoint we weren't addressing potential fiscal impact to the state. So I'm not trying to argue for or against it. I'm just trying to explain the bill and why I voted against it.
Since you didn't vote the way the lieutenant governor wanted you to, does that diminish your prospects for being the next lieutenant governor?
I think we need to move on and let some of these guys talk.
Oh, boy. Certificate of need. There was some talk, and I honestly hadn't seen any news about it recently, about the abolishing the certificate of need process for a new healthcare facility. Where does that stand these days?
It's going to be on the floor in the House next week. It's House Bill 819. That is being carried by Representative Johnny Garrett out of Sumner County, but it will be on the House floor next week.
How does it look?
I think it's going to pass.
It's 2030 is the phase out. The CON will go away for acute care, freestanding ERs, and cardiac cath labs in 2030. It's the Senate version of the bill. I think the House version is still might have a provision in there that a couple of those are 2027, but it's my understanding the parties have agreed.
By and large, it's 2030.
2030 for those, yes.
Right. There was another bill, and I don't remember the bill number or anything, but that addressed municipal elections and that sort of thing. And kind of in the middle of it, there was a provision that requires municipalities to conduct their elections on a partisan basis. Anybody have a clue what was going on there and whether that, somebody said it might have gotten amended out in the committee, but
That would have run through our state and local full committee, and I sit on that committee. I have not seen that bill, which to me says it's in subcommittee, and unless I'm mistaken, all of our subcommittees are closed, which is an indicative that that bill died in subcommittee. Or it died in the Senate and was taken off notice in the House.
that's good, okay? That's good. Voucher expansion. There was a lot of talk. The governor wanted to expand the, pardon my use of the word voucher, the education scholarships to 20,000 more kids in the state this year. Is he going to get that, Jack?
In the Senate, yes. Yeah, it's going to pass easily.
Gentlemen in the House?
Well, I understand there's some amendments on that, and it's being discussed in the House. I think the amendments may reduce the number of seats from where the original bill is, but I don't know the status of those conversations. I just know those conversations are being had.
No income requirements?
I believe this follows the same rubric as the bill last year, right? Doesn't it, Jack?
It does. You basically into several tranches. The first tranche is someone who has previously been awarded a scholarship. It's a scholarship, not a voucher. Who's previously been awarded a scholarship. So obviously, if your child has received that and is attending a private school, they get priority to maintain that. The second tranche is at or below 100% of the free and reduced lunch income threshold. The third tranche is up to 300% of free and reduced lunch, and effectively after that, it opens up to anyone. By the way, I'm adamantly opposed to those. We should not be making public education a welfare program, and that's what we're doing with those income thresholds. But I'm outvoted on that, and I'm happy to see us helping thousands of families across Tennessee.
Great. How does the Speaker of the House feel about it?
Some iteration is going to pass on the House floor, and we'll come together in a conference committee, I imagine, at the end of session between the House and the Senate. But some iteration of what is being proposed is going to pass.
Music City Loop, that's been big news. Just wondering, I think there's some legislation being proposed to regulate loops or underground highways, I guess you'd call them.
It's subterranean infrastructure.
Okay, water pipes and sewer pipes included.
Subterranean transportation infrastructure.
It's a transportation bill, really.
Jake, you're on the Transportation Committee. How does that look?
It's passed out of transportation, so it'll be heard again. It'll be on the floor next week.
Rumor is that they may even do a loop or a underground highway to Hendersonville or around Hendersonville.
Well, personally, I'd like to see one in Williamson
I was going to say, you're on the committee. Let's see if we can't get that moved down here.
Broadway to Cool Springs. Let's do it. Why not?
While you're at it, just take it past June Lake Boulevard down in the southern part of the county. So
That's Murray County.
We can. Well, Todd wasn't able to be here, so he can't.
Dave, I'm the sponsor of that bill. I'm happy to go into as much detail as you want. But yes, we are creating a regulatory authority for these types of projects, and we should. Interestingly, we don't have to do it. The project that is underway right now, and they are digging. The boring machine is underway, and the first project will be from the convention center downtown and also near the Capitol out to the airport. It's about an 8-mile each way facility that will you can and just this week the Music City Center Authority, who is the governing body for the Music City Center downtown, voted unanimously to approve the project and allow a point of ingress and egress right by the convention center. The Airport Authority previously had voted unanimously to enter into a long-term 40-year lease on the airport property. We've all been to the airport. When you walk out the ground floor, you're walking out towards where the valet parking is to the right there, which used to be kind of the valet area. That's where it's going to come in and out, which will be very convenient. You'll be able to step out of the airport, hop in a Tesla, and in 8 minutes step out at the Music City Center. Or go on to the Capitol. That project is already underway, and the state had the authority. We didn't have to pass a single bill for them to execute that contract with the Boring Company. But as we look long term, we believe, and I believe, and the Boring Company believes, and the Lee administration believes that we should have a governing authority, just like we have an airport authority, just like we have an East Bank authority, just like we have a mega site authority where Blue Oval City is being built out in West Tennessee. This is not something new. It's a specific governing body that's tailored to oversee a specific type of project. That's what the legislation that I'm sponsoring will do. It'll be made up of members of the governor's cabinet. The governor and the speakers of the House and Senate will have appointment authority on that. All of the permitting, environmental, safety, the transportation, the easement, the right-of-way, dealing with utilities, all of the stuff that's involved in these types of projects. And all of that was done without this legislation, and that's why the project is already underway. But we do hope that this is the first of many, and I don't speak for the Boring Company, but I did travel to Las Vegas, and I got a behind-the-scenes tour of it's the only other operational facility of this type in America is in Las Vegas. And I wrote on it, I took it, I got to see their operations center, I got to meet with their safety people, how they handle emergencies that take place is very impressive. And so this legislation will create that governing authority into the future, and hopefully we do end up with right now, the only project that's been submitted and approved is that trip from downtown Nashville to the airport. I hope there are many more to come.
But it's needed. My wife took our son to the airport late yesterday afternoon, and it was a 2-hour round trip, and she was not happy. So just note there, if they get that done, it'll relieve a lot of stress on a lot of people. Gas prices are kind of high at the gas stations these days. Diesel's even higher, but there is some discussion about a gas tax holiday. While all this is going on, are any of you all involved in a discussion about that?
I mean, I have not been involved in that discussion. On its surface, I don't see, 40% of the gas taxes paid in this state are paid by non-Tennesseans. So, I'm not inclined to want to approve giving 40% of non-Tennesseans a tax holiday.
You against raising the gas tax to build more roads, Jake?
I am generally not in favor of raising any tax, Dave.
Just thought I would add that in. Grocery tax. There's also a lot of discussion about doing away with the tax on sales tax on groceries. Doesn't seem to be much traction there from what I could pick up, but any thoughts about that? Mr. Bullseye, you have been extremely quiet this morning.
Let me end that, Dave. There have been a number of proposals floating through the legislature about the grocery tax. And I actually went ahead and co-sponsored one of them that was filed by Doc Sabi Kumar, which I thought was just brilliant because he'd worked for probably a good 4 to 6 months with our fiscal review team to come up with something that actually didn't alter the total revenue generated by the tax, but it allocated the grocery tax differently. You would take healthy foods that actually are conducive to living a healthy life and reducing long-term medical and healthcare costs, and eliminate the tax entirely, and then take other groceries that are unhealthy, that cause significant expense for obesity, diabetes, cancer, other types of illnesses, and increase the tax on those items, both to create a revenue-neutral bill and to encourage healthy diets, which I think is something desperately needed across the state. Unfortunately, it didn't gain traction in our finance subcommittee, and he had to take it off notice earlier this week. But it's something that likely is going to be coming back next week. I thought it was a brilliant idea. It doesn't hurt us in terms of our revenue at all in the state, but it does encourage healthy living. So I thought it gave us the best of all worlds. But unfortunately, there just wasn't the support this year to get it through our committee process.
You had another bill.
Can I add on to that real quick, Dave? I also co-sponsored that bill because I did think that, I mean, we have a health crisis in Tennessee. We are one of the least healthy states in the union. You look at some of the rankings, we're 44th out of 50 in terms of chronic disease, and that will be worked on. I agree. It's what foods are in and what foods are out, I think, is where it comes down to. And you've got the federal government working very, very hard right now to create definitions around ultra-processed food and what is real food. And so what Dr. Kumar was going for, I think, is a brilliant way to deal with that. It just definitionally needs to tie together a little closer. So, sorry.
You know, you had a bill about the Bible, teaching the historical aspects of the Bible and state of Israel in the House. Where are you on that, and what's the prospects of that?
It's going very well. That's known in the House as HB 1491. It's effectively a school prayer bill to put prayer, a vocal voluntary prayer, back in our public school system, and also to have K through 12 teaching of the Bible as history and literature, not as something as taught as divine scripture. And essentially, what we're doing there, Dave, is building upon our recent Supreme Court precedents on the First Amendment, because you may recall that from the time the First Amendment was adopted on December 15 of 1791 all the way to 1962, when the U.S. Supreme Court decided this case, Engel versus Vitale, there was prayer in public school. And obviously it worked very well. I thought it added quite a bit to the spiritual formation of millions and millions of public school children across the country, across centuries, even before we were a country. And in Engel versus Vitale, the Supreme Court adopted a view of the Establishment Clause that really had no basis in the text of the clause itself or in the history of the interpretation of the First Amendment. And in the recent case from 2022, the Kennedy versus Bremerton case, which dealt with the football coach praying at the 50-yard line, and then students would join him, and someone decided that that was somehow a violation of the First Amendment. The case got all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and Neil Gorsuch, in a 6-3 opinion, effectively threw out the test that the court had used for decades to look at whether a particular law or practice violated the Establishment Clause. And instead, he and the U.S. Supreme Court said, going forward, we're going to look at the First Amendment, and in particular the Establishment Clause, the way that our founding fathers did and the way that it was interpreted historically. And so what my bill does, HB 1491, is it builds on the Supreme Court's decision in Kennedy versus Bremerton and puts vocal voluntary prayer back in public schools in a manner that's consistent with Kennedy versus Bremerton. And effectively, what it does is it allows faculty, staff, students who wish to sign a written consent at the beginning of the school year, and then there will be prayer in schools outside of instructional time. And then with regard to the Bible, it also returns the Bible to the classroom in a way that has been historically accurate all the way going back to 1690 when the Bible first became prevalent in public education in the country with this thing called the New England Primer, which was the basis of elementary education until well into the 19th century. And Joey Hensley is our Senate sponsor. He's gotten that bill through the Senate Education Committee. I believe it's going to be on the Senate floor perhaps this coming week. It's gone through our K through 12 subcommittee in the House. It's going to be up before our Senate Judiciary Committee because it also made its way through our full Education Committee. And it's gotten great support in the caucus, and we expect it to pass on the floor here in the next few weeks.
Reeves, member of the Education Committee, I believe.
He is. I can verify that.
Speechless.
He often sits next to me, so I can vouch for the fact that he's there every time.
Phone him your mic.
Am I off the hook? No, it's back on. Okay.
There you go. There's a bill circulating to abolish tenure at the state universities. Give us the pros and cons of that bill, if you will.
Well, Dave, I will tell you this. Education, like judiciary, has the most bills of any committee. I'm aware of that bill. I don't know that I can give a dissertation on the pros and cons of every bill going through that committee. I have understood that bill is working its way through still. And there's been a lot of discussion about it. And the cons are that people are concerned that if we do away with tenure, that we won't be competitive in the marketplace of other states in terms of attracting professors and the top quality folks that are looking for that. The other side is that we've got some bad actors that sometimes say and do things that tenure protects them from. And so I imagine we will see that in the week or two ahead. And I don't know where I stand on it. I need to dig into it a little more.
Pardon my attention wandering here. Is Matt Margin still here? He had asked me to ask a question, and I didn't write it down when he told me about it. And so when we were talking about the education scholarships, I couldn't remember what it was. But I was going to give him a chance to add that in. But we've got another 5, maybe 10 minutes for questions from the audience. If any of you have any questions for our legislators, I've got 2 or 3 more things I could get into. But Joe Jensen, stand up and
Hi, Joe Jensen, resident of Franklin, Williamson County. House Bill 1697, Senate Bill 1630. Dave asked about that before. That's the bill that in Section 5 talks about how municipal elections will be partisan in the future. You're going to amend the existing statute. It is on the State and Local Government Committee, scheduled for next week, Tuesday, the 31st, I believe. I'd like to understand why having a partisan election for the city of Franklin and its municipal elections is good for the city of Franklin.
So I'm carrying you said House Bill 1697? 1497. I'm going 1697 is a half-mast flag bill. 1497. Let me look at that. Okay, so that's from Sapicki and Hensley. So as is with judiciary and education, state and local still has well over 100 bills. So I haven't seen that bill yet. I cannot tell you where the committee is on that bill. I would not necessarily be in favor of making those municipal elections a partisan, because you're dealing with potholes, you're dealing with streets and signs, and you're not dealing with partisan issues within your municipality. So, by and large, so I don't know where that bill is going to go. We still have, again, well over 100 bills left to hear in that committee, and nobody has talked to me about that bill.
On the Senate side, I don't support it, Joe. I mean, you're asking us to defend a bill that none of us have introduced. It's not our bill. It's not going to advance in the Senate. There has been some discussion about election dates relative to county elections, not municipal. Municipal elections, they set their election dates, and I don't think we're gonna change that. There's been some conversation. I don't think we're probably going to do anything this year. But there are some who say that instead of having a May primary for county offices, that should be done in August, like state and federal. Others believe that no, they like having county elections have their own primaries so that the attention is on those and they don't get drowned out by state and federal primaries. But I'm adamantly opposed to any effort to make local municipal elections partisan, and I do not expect that bill to advance.
Wide audience. Well, we do have one brave soul. Bev, you can be next. Yes, sir. Stand up and identify yourself, please.
Hey there, Sean Kehoe. Curious about you guys are very careful to use the word scholarship with the voucher program because of the semantics of where the money is coming from. I don't know if enough people understand that it's coming from our higher education lottery scholarship, where that money is coming from. Why was there not consideration, instead of doing more vouchers for K through 12, to not increase the amount given to higher education students, which is the original intent of this program?
Well, first of all, you're wrong about that. The Education Freedom Scholarships for K-12 do not come out of lottery funds. They come out of the general fund. We do have a Hope Scholarship program that is funded out of the lottery proceeds. We've also funded Tennessee Promise, Tennessee Reconnect. That is all higher education. The K-12 Education Freedom Scholarship Program and the Educational Savings Account Program that's applicable to Davidson, Shelby, and Hamilton counties is funded out of general fund revenue.
And just to loiter on that point for a moment, Dave, I mean, it's interesting that there appears to be significant opposition to the governor's Education Freedom Scholarship Program, but we've been doing the same thing in higher education for decades through the Hope Scholarship. You know, students who qualify by reason of the work that they put in high school can get a scholarship and go to a public or a private university. It seems to be very uncontroversial, but somehow when we give parents the same type of choice for K through 12, it becomes this incredibly partisan issue.
But we were using gambling money to pay for that, not the general fund.
But the debate goes even beyond
the
that.
lottery.
It's not just a question of where the money comes from, but there are folks that are just philosophically opposed to having public funds of any kind used in private institutions. That's where the debate is. People object to that. About K through 12, apparently it doesn't seem to engender the same debate at the higher education level.
That was supposed to be funny.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Alderman Bev Berger.
Thank you, Dave. Real quick, Gina, when you mentioned the prayer in schools, I remember growing up, went to parochial school, went to public school, and both schools always had prayer in the morning. We had Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone participated in it. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Today, we live in a whole different culture, a whole different world. And my concern is, how do you address the fact that everybody wants to get on board with prayer? You're going to have every type of religion, every type of prayer. You're going to have Satanists. You're going to have people who worship snails. I mean, honestly, there's a group out there that does that. And, I mean, everyone will stand in line. How do we control that without getting that out of hand? And anyone can speak to it as well.
I mean, it's a good question, Bev, and it's one that has come up in our committee debates. But the way that I respond to it is that, you know, we have lived in this country, which has been religiously diverse since its founding, without having the types of problems that you're talking about. And just go back for a second to the Engel versus Vitale case in 1962, which came out of New York. And in New York, for example, the children would recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and then they would recite a 22-word prayer Almighty God, we acknowledge our dependence upon thee, and we beg thy blessings upon us, our parents, our teachers, and our country. And it was that 22-word prayer, somehow, that the Supreme Court found violated the Establishment Clause, despite the fact that they opened that Supreme Court session with a prayer that said, God save the United States in this honorable court. But they sort of ignored that hypocrisy. So my best answer, Bev, is that this process of prayer in schools worked well for over 300 years before it was stricken in 1962. So it's going to be up to the local LEAs about exactly how to implement this, and it's something that's going to be entirely voluntary. I mean, there's actually going to have to be a written consent from the parents for kids to participate. But my hope is that we will be able to return to a culture where we can honor the country and we can honor God at the beginning of every school day. Because what has occurred over time is that secular humanism has kind of gotten into the culture of even K through 12 education. And we've been working hard to get political flags out of schools, not with much success quite yet, but the idea that we're just going to allow our kids to continue to be indoctrinated by these modern secular humanists and keep God outside of the classroom, I find repugnant, and we're going to be fighting this battle until it's won.
I met two young ladies out in the lobby before the session and introduced myself, Neely Boyd and Christina from the High Hopes organization. I said, what brings y'all here this morning? And what was your answer?
To learn more about what's going on in the community and make sure we're up to date on things. And I think from a nonprofit standpoint, it means a lot, the work that you all are doing for us. And yeah, just making sure we're in the loop.
Neely, did we accomplish your objective here?
Yes, but we will keep coming back. Stay in the loop.
Would you suggest your friends either come or at least tune in? Yes. That was just a commercial, folks. So.
Shameless advertising plug.
Garnett Thurman is our Director of Legislative Affairs for the Chamber, something close to that. And he's got a couple of announcements this morning. Garnett.
Thank you, Dave. First, thank you, Senator Johnson, Representative McCallum, Representative Reeves, and Representative Bolsel for being here. This is our next to last policy talks for this spring. We'll have one more on April 24th, and I hope you all can join us again, as well as Senator Hensley and Representative Warner. At that point, it will be April 24th here in this same room, same time. Hopefully you all can talk a little bit about what passed and what didn't pass in the legislative session and what's ahead in terms of the budget. Do want to share a few other things with you in terms of this event, for example, happened because of Williamson, Inc., Columbia State, the Williamson Herald, Williamson County TV. All of these things take a group effort. A large group effort will happen on April the 8th. The Chamber, in conjunction with Franklin Tomorrow, WAKM Radio, Williamson County Association of Realtors, the Williamson Herald, and the League of Women Voters of Williamson County are all working together to bring to you all a forum for all mayoral candidates. All three candidates, Andy Marshall, Mary Smith, and BK Mavala, have agreed to participate in that forum April 8th, right here on this campus in the Arts and Technology Building in the auditorium down the hill, 5:30 to 7:30 April the 8th is that event. Also, we have launched yesterday live on our website our Meet the Candidates initiative. If you would like to hear from all three candidates in 15-minute interviews or read their responses to questionnaires we submitted to them, you can find that on our website, williamsonchamber.com/vote. You can find all of those videos for the mayoral candidates. You want to watch all of them at once, there's a video for that. You want to watch an individual candidate, there's a video for that. Also, all candidates for County Commission, County School Board, and Franklin Special School Board were also invited to participate in that initiative. All of their interviews and questionnaires for those who decided to participate or were able to schedule it are up on the website. You can find all of that information there. In addition to that, We have important information such as registration deadline, which is April the 6th, early voting, April 15th through the 30th, and of course, Election Day is May the 5th for the primary. So again, williamsonchamber.com/vote. All of the things I've talked about are on there. You can access that information, share it with others. It's a very helpful source of information for you all. Thank you.
You do a pretty good commercial, Garnet. I'll have to let you do the next one. So we've got a couple minutes extra that we can go a little longer, and we haven't touched on any of the illegal immigration issues that are bubbling up and circulating around. Gino, I think you've been involved in some of those. Jack, what's going on in the Senate as far as trying to control that?
Well, you're right. There's a package of legislation that is making its way through the General Assembly. I've said this on a number of occasions that we really do have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity here relative to the problem of illegal immigration. There have been presidential administrations over the last 30 years, Republican and Democrat, who have said, we will secure the border, we will reform our immigration system, and we'll get these violent illegal aliens out of our communities. And today we have a president who's actually doing it. I mean, the border is secure, and ICE is doing its job. Immigration's custom enforcement, specifically relative to those who have committed violent crimes in our communities, and they are being deported. Some states are choosing to oppose those efforts. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, there are governors and mayors who have issued direct orders to their local law enforcement, you will not cooperate with these federal immigration enforcement officials who are coming in trying to get violent people out of the community. We're talking about murderers, rapists, gang members, child sex traffickers. How in the world could you want to oppose the effort of the federal government to get these people out of your community? But I'm proud to say that's not the case in the state of Tennessee. Our wonderful local law enforcement officers, sheriffs, local police departments, our state troopers, TBI, we're doing the complete opposite. We are cooperating with the White House and with ICE. And so we have passed a number of bills. We had a special session last year coming into our regular session where we created the Central Office of Immigration Enforcement. Something we haven't had before, but we have a chief immigration enforcement officer whose job is to act as a liaison between the federal officials and our local law enforcement to make sure there's cooperation, that there's an understanding of what's taking place. I'm going to put Lee on the spot because he's been a real leader relative to a program called 287G. And I'm carrying that bill in the Senate. I'm carrying a bill to say that we do not issue driver's licenses of any type to someone who is in the country unlawfully. A regular driver's license and certainly a commercial driver's license. Sadly, though, there are other states who will issue a commercial driver's license to someone who is not in the country legally. So I'm carrying a bill to say that we will not recognize those licenses. And in fact, if you're caught operating a commercial vehicle in the state of Tennessee, whether you have a license from another state or not, you're committing a Class A misdemeanor. But Lee, do you mind talking about 287G because it's something you've been very passionate about, and that bill is advancing.
Happy to. And that commercial driver's license bill that you're working on now expands on a bill that the senator and I carried last year that refuses to recognize other states issuing regular driver's licenses to illegal aliens. The 287G program, the most common form of it is in our jails, and all of our counties have jails, and it allows personnel there to work directly with the federal government to serve warrants inside the jail in a controlled environment rather than releasing people into our neighborhoods and then trying to serve a warrant. There's also another program that's part of 287G that allows databases to be searched directly instead of waiting on the federal government to do that. And I think the current bill that's working its way through, about half of our counties have decided to voluntarily join that 287G program, but some of our larger counties have not. And this bill would close that gap and have our sheriffs have somebody in their jails that are part of that program, so that there aren't holes throughout Tennessee, and we can help the effort at the federal level and protect Tennesseans.
And if I could add one more thing, another bill that Lee has, and we voted on it in Finance Committee, I believe, just this week, that Representative Reeves is sponsoring, that I think is a very important part of this conversation. It's actually a resolution to encourage the federal government to reform the legal immigration system in our country. There's no question that immigrants add value to our society, our culture. We have Nissan here. We have Bridgestone. I was at a luncheon the other day with a gentleman whose family is here from South Korea legally, and he works for Hankook Tires. We need our federal government to crack down on the illegal immigration, but we also need them to reform the legal immigration methodologies. This isn't about being anti-immigration. We need reform in that effort. So I appreciate Lee bringing that. Well, it's a resolution, right?
Thank you. Yeah, HJR 180 encourages the federal government to streamline legal immigration, make it faster, make the process faster, which will also make it less expensive.
Make the construction industry and the farming industry happy to hear that, because they desperately need a lot of these immigrants to help them get their job done. Just I want to thank all of you for being here. Jeff, you're too late. We're going to wind up. But we just really want to thank you guys for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule. If you had any idea how busy these guys are when the session's going on, it would amaze you. I was down on the Hill a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, it's like an anthill, just people running everywhere. So appreciate you taking the time to be here and answering our questions. Again, Columbia State, Dr. Shane Hall, Mary Beth, Bob, and Bob, they make us feel very welcome. We appreciate the hospitality. Creed and WCTV team make us look good on the TV, and Tom Lawrence make sure we get heard on WAKM. Derby Jones, raise your hand over there. He's the owner and publisher, I guess you'd call it, of Williamson Herald. We should bring Cassie with you, but they help us get the word out, and we very much appreciate that, Derby. Some financial support comes from Vanderbilt University Medical Center, and I always have to look at this to make sure I get which Vanderbilt to make sure we get it right, and as well as AT&T, and we appreciate their help in underwriting some of this. Terry Wimke, if you would stand up, please. She is one of the most important people to this process, but she's retiring this week or next week, and there may not be any coffee here next month, folks, because she makes sure that the coffee was here every time we came together. And Terry, we really appreciate, lugging that big coffee urn around and getting it here for us to enjoy something to sip on while we're visiting out there every morning. But we wish you luck, and hope you'll come back and visit just for fun. So. Village and the chamber team, Garnett is now our quarterback on this. Jenna Potter and help me, Katie is part of the team that pulls all this together. Katie, we need to get to know each other better. I hadn't gotten to know you very well yet, but we appreciate all the team effort that makes this come together, and hope that you all again learned something this morning. Hope that you'll get the word out to your friends and let them know that they can actually learn a lot about their state government if they come in or tune into one of these. So hope you'll come back next month. I think it's April 24th, and we'll be back with our legislative wrap-up after the session ends. So y'all have a good day.